What if I told you that the biggest change in retirement isn't between $2 million and $5 million? It's between $1 million and $2 million. That sounds impossible. One jump is worth $1 million. The other is worth $3 million. But retirement was never just about money. It's about the problems money solves. And strangely enough, those problems completely change depending on how much you have. Today, we're breaking down what really changes at each retirement milestone and why most people completely misunderstand what financial freedom actually looks like. Most people assume retirement is a straight line. More money, less stress. A bigger number, a better life. Double the portfolio, double the peace of mind. But here's the surprising part. Retirement doesn't work like a staircase where every step feels the same. It works more like a series of different rooms, and each one solves a completely different problem. Walk into the first room with $1 million, and you're mostly solving for survival. Walk into the room with $2 million, and you're solving for identity. Walk into the room with $5 million, and money almost disappears from the conversation entirely. Let's start with the room most people are aiming for first. $1 million sounds like the finish line. For decades, it was the number that defined financial success in America. But live inside it, and a different picture emerges. Using a commonly cited guideline, $1 million might generate somewhere around $40,000 a year in sustainable income. Add Social Security, and a retired couple might land somewhere in the $50,000 to $70,000 range annually, depending on their work history and when they claim benefits. That's a real retirement. Modest, workable, often comfortable, especially in lower-cost areas of the country. But here's the psychological trap almost nobody talks about. This is the mistake nearly everyone at this level makes. They spend 30 years building the number, and the moment they retire, a new question replaces every old one. Will this last? That question becomes a quiet companion. Every market downturn feels personal. A bad year in the stock market early in retirement, something economists call sequence of returns risk, can do more damage than the exact same downturn happening 10 years later. The math is the same. The timing changes everything. Which means someone can do everything right for 30 years and still watch a difficult first 18 months threaten a plan that took decades to build. There's also a quieter risk that rarely makes headlines. At this level, taxes matter more than most people expect. Social Security timing, the difference between claiming early and waiting until full retirement age, can shift lifetime income by a meaningful margin. Get the timing wrong, and a retiree can spend years leaving guaranteed income on the table without ever realizing it. That's the emotional reality of $1 million. Financially survivable, psychologically exhausting. Now walk into the second room. $2 million is where something interesting happens. This is the true turning point, and it has almost nothing to do with the extra income. At this level, taxes start becoming a strategic game rather than a passive expense. Required minimum distributions, the withdrawals the government eventually forces from retirement accounts, start looming as a future tax event. Many people at this stage begin exploring Roth conversions, gradually moving money into accounts that grow and withdraw tax-free, specifically to avoid a painful tax bill in their 70s. But here's where it gets strange. People who reach $2 million often don't stop working, not because they need to, because they don't know how to switch off a habit they've spent 30 years building. Psychologists call this the spending paradox. After decades of disciplined saving, the brain has been trained to see spending as risk and saving as safety. So even with more money than they'll ever need, many retirees at this level keep working, keep saving, keep delaying the very freedom they built their entire plan around. That sounds logical until you see how often it happens. Financial advisors report this pattern constantly. Clients with more than enough still afraid to spend it. The $2 million retiree isn't fighting a math problem anymore. They're fighting an identity they spent decades building. Then there's the third room, and this is where everything changes. At $5 million, the conversation shifts entirely. Income stops being the question. Sequence of returns risk becomes a minor concern instead of an existential one. Even a rough market year rarely threatens the plan. So what replaces the money question? Purpose. What is all this money actually for? Estate planning becomes central. Who inherits, when, and how often becomes a more emotionally loaded conversation than any withdrawal strategy. Legacy stops being abstract and starts becoming a series of real decisions about children, grandchildren, and charitable causes. And there's a darker layer too. Financial institutions and consumer protection agencies have repeatedly warned that retirees at this wealth level become frequent targets for sophisticated scams, precisely because they have enough to lose and often enough isolation to be exploited quietly. At $5 million, the biggest risks are no longer about the market, they're about meaning and about protecting what's already been built. So here's the twist most people never see coming. The jump from 1 million to 2 million changes almost everything. The jump from 2 million to 5 million mostly changes options. The first jump buys security. It's the difference between constant financial anxiety and being able to breathe. The second jump doesn't remove new fears. It just adds more choices to
a life that was already fundamentally safe. Retirement isn't measured by the size of your portfolio. It's measured by the number of worries your portfolio removes. And somewhere between your first million and your second, money quietly stops being the goal and starts becoming a tool. If this kind of thinking about money and retirement is useful to you, there's more of it here. Subscribe, and we'll keep breaking down the numbers nobody else